Hello. All right. How's it going, folks? We are here and we have. So, this is all of the stuff. We just barely missed on getting the last two of our cantrips. So, we've got all of these except for. So Minor Illusion has no verbal component, so I'm not doing that one. I'm not doing True Strike. We need Ray of Frost and Eldritch Blast. And that will round off all of the cantrips that I need. Hey Jake, how you doing? Jake is now the moderator. Oh, we got some people in. I think we've got regulars in that. I was curious to see if I would get more people in chat today, just because, like, you know, last week the stream was insane, and it is just kept on going. That's great, Jake, because so fully 45% of my watch hours on this channel are from the Keshor tablet. The 45% of all watch hours from the time I started the YouTube channel. So that shows you, like, what happened there. Anyway, let's get into get our conlanging hats on, and we can crack on with this then. So we have all of these done. We need Ray of Frost and Eldritch Blast. So let's get into that mode. And I think maybe after we get done with this, we'll kind of review all of them. And then we will be ready to move back to the writing system, which I do want to finish up, and make any glyphs that we are missing. Squilliam. Hi, Squilliam. I have not seen you before. Oh, yeah. And thank you, Jake, for being my mod on that. I was trying to get some more mods, but I couldn't find people. So I'm glad that you didn't need to intervene with any, wang rods. So, and if anyone else wants to ever be a mod for my channel, I'm going to be doing those big streams in the future again after I get done with the next language. So it's, possibly Jake will need some help, or maybe even Jake won't be there to do it and somebody else will need to be there. So here we go. Let's go with our process now, and let's look up our spell, Ray of Frost. This is a classic spell. This is a spell that every level 1 wizard has, I think. Ray of Frost. Casting time 1 action. Range is 60 feet. This could have been a longer range one, but 60 feet is decent. Components, verbal and somatic. So we do need an incantation for this. Well, I'm glad that you've been watching the previous streams, we'll get you can get caught up here. Duration instantaneous, evocation. And it's a ranged attack. A frigid beam of blue-white light streaks toward a creature within range. Make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a hit, it takes 1d8 cold damage, and its speed is reduced by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. The spell's damage increases by 1d8 when you reach 10th level. Of course, it's standard level scaling with the new cantrips. I don't comment much on the like mechanics so much in D&D right now, but it is interesting that they've made cantrips basically like a replacement for a main weapon. Okay. Some people sharing my thing. I need to... Probably should mute my phone. Well, it should have been muted in the first place, but... It's weird. So... What we need is... We need something about shooting a ray from your finger, right? Well, it doesn't actually specify in the description, but I kind of imagine you're like point at somebody and cast a spell, and you have a ray of coldness that freezes them. They take 1d8 cold damage, and speed is reduced by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. So there's sort of an idea that they're being frozen, and this is slowing them down. Hey, Jonathan, how you doing? That is a part of the whole thing. Oh, okay. Coddling-related drawings. That's cool. Maybe I will hear more about that soon, huh? So we need to be looking at, this is some stuff that I was coming up with. By the way, I came up with, I said that dragons call the astral plane the dream of the world, but I didn't actually say that in Ndakaga because I didn't have a word for world. And so I made a word for world. It's Fifa. Fifa if the insraf. Fifa if the insraf if. So world, the world of dream of the dream of the world, right? And that also led to me thinking, so Fifa comes from fe'a, which means land, right? With this prefix fe. Just happened that I chose something something that would be fe, that would be the same. It's not actual reduplication. I need to make some more words so that it doesn't look like it's reduplication. But anyway, this means world. It's like collection of land or group of lands. And then that led to me saying, okay, well, then I can say insrafif she fe'a insrafif she fe'a if it's if, right? Insrafif she fe'a if, and that is the lands within the dream, the lands, literally the lands in the dream, which would be the word for the outer planes, the heavens, the hells, and all that. So I will fill out terms for cosmology over time, because I think there needs to be names for the planes, and that's kind of going to be from the perspective of dragons. The dream metaphor is theirs, and they believe that people go to the astral plane in dreams. Linguistic resources about narrative prose. That is a very interesting question, Squilliam. And if anybody has that, can name some things, that would be interesting. You probably want to look at some stuff that's talking about discourse analysis and in storytelling. I don't know of anything comprehensive. I have seen like examples within particular languages, but I don't know of anything particular. Kind of like one paper I read in grad school about obviation had an example of a full story because obviative marking, of course, is going to be very relevant to telling a story because the proximate is like usually going to be like your main character or the person you are seeing through the eyes of the person you're focusing on, and then other things are obviate. And you kind of need a story to actually get the idea of that. I got a scratchy throat today. It is not being kind to me. But anyway, so I've got that. Anyway, enough distractions. So let's see. Do I have a word for cold? I have a word for ice, I think. No. Okay, I made a word for hail. Gapi. I needed that. Gapi. But I don't have anything for ice, apparently, or snow. I have snow, Maya. I don't even know why it's Maya, why I chose Maya. Oh, that was just a random one. So there are some things we could consider. Now, hi Danielle, how you doing? So we're working on Ray of Frost right now. And I'm thinking, so do we want a word for cold, or do we want like the word here is frost, right? In the title of the spell, it's Ray of Frost. Something like having to do with ice or just cold or what. Another thing is like there are also dragons that breathe cold. But it's kind of weird to call something just cold. If you know what I mean, to say this is a ray of cold is a little bit of an odd situation because cold is a little bit more of an abstraction, and I think taking something from this and calling it frost helps. It also might help with the effect of the spell because looking at this, you see, speed is reduced by 10 feet. Ray of Kulth. And you have to ask, okay, why is their speed reduced? Why can you not move as well when you're the target of this spell? Yeah. Ray of Ice is something. I'm not, and it's kind of, but like it's not like you're shooting ice. You're shooting coldness at them. Cold energy, which is, fantasy world. It somehow makes sense. You have to make it. You have to accept the weird medieval mindset that comes up with cold energy. But yeah, you reduce speed is reduced by 10 feet. I imagine that has to do with somehow ice forming and restricting you, right? Restricting your movements and making you slower. Um, it's very, it's a very common trope. It's not at all how the human body would actually react to being frozen. Uh, because, well, I mean, it does do damage, so I guess it does have that going for it. But generally, if you are cold enough that parts of you are freezing, you are in serious trouble. But like, it's a really common trope in fantasy stuff. Maybe starting with Dungeons and Dragons, that you can slow people down or freeze people with cold, and freeze people in place with cold, right? Uh, think of, like, I know in World of Warcraft, the mages have a frost bolt, which I think has a slowness effect, and then they also have an ice block spell that puts somebody in a block of ice. Yeah. The ground would become harder to get across. That's true, but this doesn't the spell doesn't affect the ground, it affects the creature. It's not creating difficult terrain or anything. I like that's like uh um by the way, I've been doing the first level spells, and I just did grease, and uh the way I did grease is basically I made an incantation. I made it mean the ground is slippery, because that's what the point of the spell is. Uh, I realize it looks really weird when I'm talking to you guys and I'm putting over here, but that's where my chat window is. I have it on a vertical monitor over in this direction, and I have the this this the 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 spell up, my screen up here, the one that I'm sharing. So that's why I look all over the place when I'm streaming. Is I have three monitors with different things on them. Anyway, so I think we're going to go with frost, but that leaves the question of what is the word for frost? Um, and um, yeah, and I think we can get away with that. I've done a lot of incantations that don't reference the name of the spell, but this one it's fine. So let's take a look at things that we have. Hmm? We've got a bunch of pa ta. Those are good. Ka. Those ones are nice. I think an aspirate is cool to have here. For some reason, in my own head, there's a connection between aspirates and cold. I don't know if it's like that's common at all. It's just my own associations. Um, we could. I need to figure out what Phoebe's going to be. I'm thinking. I've been thinking about that. Um, but let's go here. Oh, what am I doing here? we go to the word and Decago writing origins. Oh. Yeah, okay. This is, I keep forgetting that's an Excel document. Oh, we need to do a lot of glyphs still, by the way. So, see if there's anything in here. Maybe take a look in the no. Cat. These are all taken. Keg. Fricatives work too, like macha, or let's go with this. Why is it? Hey, bold it. No, I don't want macha. I want nacha. Nacha kegi. Yeah, let's get a poll. Oh yeah. Kegi nacha. Feel like I want to add one more, and I think I'm going to actually generate roots and see if there's one that pops out at me. Nothing really. No, this is not really calling to me. I think one of these two. What is our word for frost? Oh, weird. They changed the way polls look. You know what? That's a good question. We could go look at clicks here. I would speculate that any language that is in an environment that has frost is going to be likely to have a separate term for it, either derived or yeah, okay, so we have frost. Okay. So let's look at we can look at frost. There's also hoarfrost. Yeah, so let's look at who links it with cold. Well, Mongolic. Buryat, where's Buryat? Okay, so there's actually Uralic languages, Tunguskic languages, Inuit Aleut language. So these are people in environments that would encounter frost regularly, that don't distinguish between frost and cold. That is very interesting. So we might not necessarily need, yeah. So we might actually want uh, to think about like frost and cold being the same. Cold as in chill. I don't know what the difference between that. Um, let's follow this. What do they mean by cold as in chill? Sometimes you have to read the definitions on clicks because okay. Okay. The presence of low temperature. What is this? And what is the having a low temperature? Oh, this is the adjective and this is the noun. Okay. No, it's the no, it's yeah, it's the adjectival use versus the or property word because not all the languages will have adjectives, but like property, the property term versus like its use as a name as a noun sort of thing. Yeah, I'm not sure why they broke that out, but they did. Um, Interesting that hoarfrost is like there's not a lot of languages that do frost and hoarfrost together. I don't know if that's like an artifact because like what is hoarfrost even? It's hoarfrost. I think that's a just a particular right. So like I would think a lot of languages would make those the same, but apparently it's not. We have hoarfrost derived from frost because obviously it is like looking at it, it is like is frost that's gone extra, right? But anyway, let's so we can think about like cold and frost together. I think that makes some sense. Dragons will exist in a wide variety of environments, remember. So um, they will experience frost. Hi, Aquamelon. Well, I'm glad that you've been able to come. Um, I recognize your name. Were you at the what hoarfrost? Yeah, it's a compound of something. I can look at that up. Yeah. Hoarfrost. So it's an adjective of this old word that meant gray or grayish white plus frost. And frost has been the same for 9,000 years. Uh, that's funny. But har. Yeah. But this word by itself is not actually used much. But anyway, so the gray frost. I don't know why the color is what you describe it as because the thing that distinguishes it from other frost is that it's like spiky and not just sticking to the surface. So we have how is our poll going? Okay, we've got we you might be able to affect. Well, no, I think okay, I think I'm going to end the poll. It's been up for a bit. Why is it not letting me end? Hello? Okay. There, finally. So Nacha actually won. Nacha works for a word for frost and for cold, I think. So let's go with Nacha. I'm going to mention here that it means cold. Cold. Why? Oh, enable editing was off. Chat people, you're supposed to tell me when I mess up stuff like that. Okay. Cold. I'm gonna make it mean both cold and frost, and that will be an interesting. Okay, so nacha, and etymology. It's probably just nacha. What would the should be in here? So nacha. Oh yeah, interesting. Yes. So this is etymology is proto-reptilian. Nacha. Now, if you haven't been on the streams for a while, I'm calling the proto-language for Ndakaga proto-reptilian because the language that I made is like the ancestral language of the Ndapaga, the winged dragons. So the dragons that fly, both the chromatic and the metallic dragons. But there is another branch that is spoken by serpents, mainly sea serpents. Maybe there's some giant land serpents, right? So it's actually so that's why it's called proto-reptilian. And if you want any information on serpentine, that's on the Patreon. I'm not doing that on the public stream because it's gonna be more. I haven't done a whole lot with it, but it's gonna need more actual world building and me considering like actual things about where dragons come from. Whereas Ndakaga is also meant to like be able to slot into wherever. UNT, I mean, the thing is, if I do anything publicly with UNT, I have to call them something else because that is not part of the SRD. That's not part of the Open Gaming License. So, but like one thing that I did consider was that if I went into like a full-on world building and built out a campaign world that I put these languages into, yes, I would say that Ndakaga and the Serpentine language that I haven't come up with a name with, an internal name for, those would end up being the ancestor languages of a whole bunch of languages that are spoken by kobolds and dragonborn and naga and all kinds of reptilian species that are listed as speaking Draconic in the books. No, they don't all speak Draconic. They speak different languages. Some of them may actually have adopted humanoid languages. Right? Yeah, Nacha. So, Nacha means cold or frost. And whatever, hoarfrost too. Let's just make it mean all that. I'll put a question mark. in case I want to come back and change that. But naha. So we have a word for cold. I have a word for ray because I had to, yeah, ika. Yeah, so let me make sure. I'm going to actually, because I didn't actually do this before, I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I need to actually get the inflectional paradigm. Taking a while to load, huh? There we go. Okay. What? I did actually do it. I did it and I never actually pasted it in. Okay. That's what happens when you're like just making a bunch of words in a hurry. Because, so, yeah, so it means either line or ray. And I think ikabe, right? So, yes. I haven't used the postposition da before in this stuff. So it would be naha da ikabe. Right. Okay, so we get that. So it's naha da ikabe. Straight up, just a ray of frost, but to make it a sentence, we have, I have decided, so, gapabe, gapabe. So, that is frost of, and then ray, accusative, shoot, read. I shoot a ray of frost. Very straightforward. Very this one's gonna kind of on the nose, but that's fine. So yes and no, Aquamelon. The biggest problem in D&D is your languages, and the thing that if I were running a campaign and like built out a world, I would completely change, is their languages are often based on your race, right? Everybody has the option to have common, and then if you are not human, then you get one a language that's based on your race. Like my dude was a half elf, so automatically they said, okay, you speak Common and Elvish. Well, there's a lot of issues with that. First of all, why are all humans speaking Common? All elves speak Elvish. All dwarves speak Dwarvish. Why do they all have a single language? That kind of implies that like these are like all living in tiny little enclaves, kind of isolated from each other. That doesn't happen in the real world. What I mean, like all of the elves live in one place, all of the humans live in one place. That doesn't happen. And also making it race-based kind of is a little icky because it's like, it's kind of the whole, like, all of the stuff about races in D&D, and I think, you know, a lot of people have tried to rename them as species or ancestries, but it's all sort of there's always been this idea of like in the D&D world there actually are different types of humans, and that have like both a set of cultural traits and a set of physical traits. And they've tried to walk away from that a little bit, but it's still kind of in there. And one of the things that reinforces that is having each of the races have a racial language. I would not do that. If I were making a D&D world, which, probably eventually I will. Maybe I will do something with that on the channel. I'm making Draconic. I am making Sylvan. I'm making these exotic languages because I think that's more removed from like the player characters, and I think it makes more sense that, okay, maybe the dragons do speak multiple languages, but this happens to be the particular Draconic, probably an archaic Draconic language that wizards picked up around the world and started using. That makes sense to me. Doing that for the spellcasting languages and having that unique to each spellcaster, that makes sense. Having all elves speak Elvish. Even Tolkien had multiple Elvish languages, right? And you're supposed to be imitating Tolkien. You're not. You're doing your own thing with kind of, sort of, like races inspired by him. But I would have multiple languages, and maybe a particular family would be associated with a different race, a particular race, but the actual world history of these different, ancestry groups would necessarily involve some that historically switched to a language that was from a different one. And I would probably make humans the most diverse, just because I feel it's useful to focus on humans. But probably several families for humans, and maybe one elvish family, and then reptilian creatures would have proto-reptilian, the have branches off the reptilian family. But there would be like cases in there somewhere of like, oh, this group of kobolds lived next to dwarves and got integrated into their society and adopted dwarvish, and so they actually speak their own, not dwarvish, but the local dwarf language, and so they actually speak some like some variant of that, right? Sort of cases like that. Probably, it would be difficult to replicate the full linguistic diversity of like the real world, because that would be crazy. But I could lay out the framework for that with different language families, and then focus on like a particular adventuring area and say, okay, this is the lingua franca of this area. These are the languages of these particular cultures, which may be multiracial cultures, or they may be enclaves of particular ancestries, and that will inform what they do. Oh, Furbolgs don't have a language, huh? They speak Elvish? It's probably because they're like some kind of a fey creature, right? The Furbolgs come from... what do firbolgs come from? Irish mythology or broadly like Celtic mythology? That would probably I think they come from Celtic mythology, maybe specifically Irish. I think I remember like there's a story of them being like antagonists in Irish mythology. Yeah. But and that so because of that they may have been like grouped with Fae and stuff. But yeah, truly, if the firbolgs are all isolated in a little pocket, in little pockets around, then they probably would speak a diverse array of languages. Yeah, they're the first men. Okay, they would probably like each pocket of firbolgs would have their own language, and you would probably want to possibly all of them related, possibly a couple different families, right? Yeah. Yeah. D&D firbolgs became something very different. That's literally everything in D&D is that they took something from some mythology somewhere and then made it something completely different. I see I haven't actually picked it up yet. But it's interesting to me. I see a lot of posts about Dungeon Meshi. Have you guys heard of that? Which is like it's like a D&D world, and and one of the things that's interesting there is like in that world, kobolds is a name for like anthropomorphic dog creatures. And whereas like in D&D they're kind of dragon like, right? Yeah. Boy have I. So we have a couple fans of Dungeon Meshi. Oh, Senshi? Yeah. But yeah, so but it's interesting like in D&D kobolds are more like they speak draconic. They're dragon, small dragon people. In Dungeon Meshi they're like dog people. I think originally kobolds are just like very much overlapping with goblins. They're just like another term for the same sort of little forest creature, right? But but it's gotten attached to like these different concepts in different media. Anyway, so we've got Ray of Frost done, and we spent a whole lot of time just talking. I was hoping to actually get back to writing system now, but we've gotten sidetracked. So let's actually go back, and we have literally our last spell to do. Yeah. I saw stuff about that, and I need to maybe I'll find the anime and start watching it. I'm not sure. The library has all of the books, but the like, you know, when I see manga pages, it's difficult for me to get my brain around reading backwards. Yeah. So let's move on. We've got Ray of Frost. That was very straightforward. I shoot a Ray of Frost. That's great. Okay. Nachata ikabe gap gapabe gapabe. Nachata ipabe ikabe gapabe gapabe. That has a nice rhythm to it too. So let's go to Eldritch Blast. In case we have a warlock, is there a dragon warlock? Actually, Warlock subclasses. Because, like, warlocks can use... Why do you not have... let's see, roll 20. I have the full stuff here, so if I go to the compendium, if I go, where's the tools compendium, there we go. Let's go look up warlocks. Classes, warlock. Just want to look at the otherworldly patron. The Archfey, the Fiend, the Great Old One. Yeah, so that's... Yeah. 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 So it's not showing, because I think that they can use... I don't know why it's... Well, this is weird. Nobody's telling me which languages they can do. I'm pretty sure that they can, that warlocks can choose to speak Draconic, but it's like completely missing here. Oh, I guess I was just kind of silent there. Okay, let's anyway, let's go back and go look up spells, and we look up Eldritch Blast. Some people might because I think there is a reason to have a Draconic one for Eldritch Blast. There's definitely going to be Celestial, Infernal, and Sylvan ones, and probably Abyssal ones for this spell too. What about Tokipona? That's weird, Jonathan. I don't know. It could have been just you, so... Okay. Cantrip, one action, 120 feet. The best attack cantrip, huh? Components: verbal, somatic, instantaneous evocation, ranged attack, force. Okay. A beam of crackling energy streaks toward a creature within range. Make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a hit, the target takes 1d10 force damage. The spell creates more than one beam when you reach higher levels. 2 beams at 5th level, 3 beams at 11th level, and 4 beams at 17th level. You can direct the beams at the same target or at different ones. Make a separate attack roll for each beam. So, that's insane. So it's called Eldritch Blast, but it's a beam. Now, number one thing about this is the damage type is force damage. What the heck does that actually mean? It's like, so game mechanically speaking, I know that force damage is like the least commonly resisted. I don't know if anything resists force damage, right? But like in the world, what's happening when you cast Magic Missile is also force damage, right? And Eldritch Blast is force damage. What is actually happening? Like a ball of energy, but like the damage that it does is force. So yeah, so like a ball of energy. In the spell text, it says a beam, right? So you're shooting a beam, right? But like the whole the thing that's weird about it is like how is the energy transferred into the subject? It's force. So it's pushing you? Is it hitting you in the same way that someone hitting you with a club would hit? Like it's just physical force? That's kind of what I'm thinking force damage is that it just like pounds you, right? A typology of magic. There's lots of, I mean, every magic system, lots of magic systems have some sort of typology, right? D&D has the schools, which if, by the way, I've decided dragons don't care about schools of magic. That's something wizards did. So any words for the schools of magic are going to be like neo-draconic stuff. Yeah, like a physical force hitting you, like something hitting you. It's so it may look like a bright beam of light, right? Or magic missile, like a bright ball of light. But what's actually like happening to your body is something impacting it. Is bam! It hits you like that. Whereas like firebolt, it hits you and you burn. Ray of frost, the ray hits you and you get cold. You start to freeze, right? Eldritch Blast apparently is just like that. So it's kind of hard to make something that really talks about that. The other thing is like the biggest things about Eldritch Blast is that it has a lot of damage for a cantrip. It's 1d10 damage. It has a long range, 120 feet. And the biggest thing is that warlocks get it, and warlocks have a bunch of extra class features that affect what Eldritch Blast does. Like it makes it a longer range, or gives it other effects and stuff. So it's kind of a general thing. One thing is, see, I'm going to have to do different incantations for Eldritch Blast, right? And they're all going to need to be in the style of the different spellcasting languages. I think that when we do like the Infernal and Abyssal and Celestial, probably I will have language in there about drawing power from their patron because of this. But there isn't. I'm not going to say there isn't. There probably is in some supplemental material a warlock subclass that has a dragon as their patron. It's usually not that because dragons exist on the prime material plane and they're not really that kind of an entity that can like grant you powers from elsewhere. Yeah. Boom, pow, snack. Yeah. So I'm thinking for the draconic one, what we're just going to do is something with the dream metaphor. But like I'm not going to like I summon a beam of force from the dream. That sounds really weird and not it doesn't fit for me. So I think something maybe something more directed at the targets. Now, it can hit one or more targets, right? So if I directly address people, then I'm going to have different variations of the spell. Warlocks totally speak Ithquil. Oh, you were saying warlocks speak Tokipona. I think warlocks speak whatever language. Like, warlocks can take a thing that allows them to speak any language. So I think they just like, they will, each warlock will just choose whatever language and like use it for spells. And you realize that they're speaking some very obscure dialect, very obscure language that is spoken by a tiny clan of kobolds that live in a mud pit. Squilliam, when I talk about dreams, the dragons call the... Let me go look it up for you. Astral? Okay, there we go. The dream of the world is what dragons call the astral plane. So, and like there's a sense that the astral plane contains all the other planes. Kind of, my cosmology is a little different from standard D&D cosmology. I don't go for the Sea of Stars imagery. But the idea is that the astral plane is... see ya, Jonathan. The astral plane is like a larger thing that contains other planes. Because, like, in general, there's a lot of implications that, like, when you travel to other planes, you are traveling through the astral plane, right? But what dragons call it is the dream of the world. And since magic is connected to the planes, they also call magic dream. Israf means both magic and dream, and like the craft of using magic, like spellcasting and such, is Insrafin, which means dreamcraft. So that's why I have a lot of this dream metaphor going in my incantations. Not everywhere, because you don't want to use anything all the time. But here, I think, well, there's a thunderstorm going on. But sometimes that's how we do it. Okay, so Eldritch Blast. So, like, we could do a blast. Something. Yes, a blast. Let's use this blast. The thing is, like, the name of the spell is Eldritch, which Eldritch has its own connotations. But I think let's go with I think summoning language and sort of a blast from the dream. Yeah. Blast. Let's see. Blast. So blast or explosion is the kind of word I'm looking for. So let's take a look at some things that we have here. Ha. It's gotta be. We need a crunchy word for this. Macha. Macha menge michud. Bunde. Okay, let's go with bunde. Is one. Macha. We just use nacha. I'm not sure about doing macha right after that. Michud. Yatu. Yeah, Yatu. Let's make it between those two. What is the word for blast? And our choices are bunde or yatu. And now I get to sit here and see exactly how far behind the stream is from chat. Wow. Let's take a moment. Wow, I thought I was going to knock these two out real quick and get right to writing, but it looks like we're running short on time, and we're going to have to go on to doing some of the writing system next week, which is totally fine. It just means we got to do it at a different time. Okay. I'm going to check on things. But this is our last cantrip. Oh, it's a dead heat. This is our last cantrip. And I will continue doing I've been doing the leveled spells. I am almost done with first level spells, actually. Just have a few more to do. I realized how fast I can actually do these when like the day, it was it the day before, I think it was 2 days before the Hashor tablet, uh, Joey gave me a list of spells. He's like, "Can I have incantations for these?" And it was all of Demal's spell book. The entire spell book of a 15th level wizard I did in like a day. Granted, a bunch of them I had already done because like there were a bunch of cantrips that I had already done, and for a few first level spells I had already done. But it still was quite a lot, and there were things I had to figure out because like he has teleport, and I had to figure out how to make teleport distinct from plane shift because they basically do the same thing, except teleport is only within one plane of existence and plane shift is between planes of existence. And what I ended up doing actually was teleport. The wording for teleport is we walk through the dream. And then for plane shift, it's we fly through the dream. So that worked. I had to actually make a word for through because I had forgotten to do through when we did all the post positions. But that works. Let's see where we are. Oh, come on, guys. Get on the poll. How many people are here? Oh, so there's not many people here anyway. Okay. Well, we'll end the poll, and we've got... Why are the results not showing up? So there was no... So I said I chose those two, but I actually like Bunde better. So I don't know where that came from. So let's go with Bunde, and that is interesting. Okay, so that is Blast. And let's go. So, create a new note. Bunde. Bunde. Doesn't look like it should be pronounced Bunde, huh? And then my romanization has some things that might. Etymology. Proto-reptilian. And was Bunde. Yeah. And this is not that one. Yeah, Blast. And let's grab this again. And we'll go ahead and make a full paradigm. The stream keeps me honest because often when I hi Caden. Well, I mean you missed the last me making one cantrip incantation and doing a lot of chatting. I am finishing up the last incantation I'm going to make for cantrips. And after that, probably next week we'll be doing writing. Um, let's go to Lexergy. Apply changes. I don't need that. Bunde, bunde. Yeah, so, and then we're going to get that, get our nice chart. So, bunde, bunde di, bunde end, bunde be, bunde e. Yeah, bunde is really nice. Okay. So, and so we probably want bunde be instraf agu bund bundebe. And then I think something like summon or call. Let's see, summon. Shuba. Shuba. Yeah. And let's see, that would be Gushibabe. Okay. Gushibabe. Okay, so here's the thing. Gushibabe. But since I've done that, I need to have a variant, actually. So this is if for a single one. This is at level 1 you do it that way. But insraf agu bunde, let's see. It's bunde und. Bunde und. Schön. And we got Bushu Bunge. Gushubunge. So this is single beam. This is multiple beams. And for that, I needed to have the plural form. And wait, I have the wrong. Let me double check. We need the accusative. So bundae. Bundae. Right. It's for accusative. Well, that's super. That's a super fun idea. So this is dream from blast accusative 1 summon 3. So I summon a blast from the dream, right? Insraf if I think in this case we're gonna actually have the definite article, right? And so this has to be insraf if. But this one you have to have the plural forms. Because apparently at level, what is it? Level, what level is, what's the, apparently at level 5 you suddenly learned how to use the plural forms properly. Well, so Caden, it's basically copied from Mandarin. I have an aspiration distinction um, rather than a voicing distinction. And having learned Mandarin, it's very intuitive to me to just use the voiced for the plain and then the voiceless for the aspirated in that case. And it feels like English speakers reading it, especially, will generally get the correct pronunciation that way. It's a little bit different because we do have coda stops in this language, but it's still like English speakers pronounce the coda fortis stops a little bit differently, but it probably wouldn't actually be out of the realm of possibility that that also happens in Draconic. Basically, that what English does when you have a coda stop, like in hat, very often you have glottalization there, but that's not a huge thing, and you can just tell people to aspirate it if you want it to be. I think I will say, like, it's still aspirated in Draconic, though some related languages might not have it that way. But I mean, you can choose however you want to represent different things. I find that if you have a two-way laryngeal distinction, generally speaking, speakers will just map that onto their own two-way distinctions anyway. Now, if I have a Thai speaker learning this language, I want to be more careful and like actually point out to them, okay, this is plain and this is aspirated, because they can do all three. Voiced, plain, and aspirated, right? But most languages will have a two-way laryngeal distinction. And so it's not a huge thing if you have a two-way, whether you choose the aspiration or the voicing. It's sort of a preference thing. And then I feel that the way I Romanized it is pretty intuitive for the situation. Anyway, this is my stuff. And then I summon blasts from the dream. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. This is what we have now. This is all of the cantrips done. If I missed one, people can let me know, and maybe future streams I can do this. But this is where we're stopping with this language. At this point, the only thing left to do with Ndakaga on stream will be the writing system. And we will get to that next week. PH, TH, KH. Yeah, that's the thing, is like, those are cool. That's cool. But literally everyone is going to misread that. Unless they have specifically read the guide. I would not use the PH, TH, KH unless for some reason I decided to do like a three-way distinction. And I just had to. I probably won't do three-way distinctions with these languages just because they're difficult and it's not common. And like, I want people to use these at their tables. So I'm not going too out there with things. So anyway, let's read through. Before I go, I'm going to read through for all you guys all of the incantations I've made, just as a little exercise to see how they work. Let's move this over to so I can easily be at my mic and read it. Okay, so acid splash. We have two variants here. Reidi Iginfaite. That's if you have one target. If you have two targets, you have Reidi Iginfaidre. Wait. Nope. That was wrong. It's a good thing. This should be adre. Okay. So let's start that again. Reidi Iginfaite. That is acid burn you, one person. But if it's multiple targets, you can target up to two. Reidi Iginfaadre. And then that's acid burn y'all. Chill touch. Chill touch is a real metal one, okay? Gejifu egrebe if gushubebe. Gejifu egrebe gushubebe. Gushubebe. No. Okay. Let me get it right. Gejifu egrebe if gushubebe. I summoned the dead hand. Yeah. Dancing lights. Ngiki itere itere. Ngiki itere gigab. Okay. Fluttering lights circle. Okay. Firebolt. Ipibe gukugik. Ipibe gukukigube. I throw fire over that way. I throw fire away from me, right? And then light. Light is a beautiful one. Dube kafaibe. So I make light. Okay. Mage hand. This was the first spell I cast in the Cheshor tablet. Egrebe ginsrafube. I dream of a hand. That's such a wonderful one, huh? And then mending. So this is a 2-line poem. It's based on parallelism. It's a couplet structured on parallelism, 8 syllables per line. Te ifu rii ibecha. Pi ifu. Let's start again. Te ifu rii ibecha. Pi ifu rii ubicha. Yeah. Te ifu rii ibecha. Pi ifu rii ubicha. So, it's what was broken is whole. What was torn is whole. Message, I don't think you really would need an incantation for message, but I made one anyway. Kagabe grikuchefube. So, and that just literally means carry my voice away in some direction. Poison spray. So poison spray causes generates a cloud of poison gas. So instead of actually being a description of what happens, this is actually a command. Kadecha. Kadecha. It's a command to that person. Breathe in. And it's a cloud of gas that goes to one target, and they breathe it in. Prestidigitation, it's sort of a general idea of something because prestidigitation does everything. Insrafbe gufegratbe. I shape the dream. I sculpt the dream. And then we have ray of frost. Nachada ikabe kaphabe. I shoot a ray of frost. Very simple. Shocking grasp. This is the only one that's not a full sentence. It's chutati egre. Chutati egre. Electric hand. Or electric talon, if you want to say it that way. And then finally, Eldritch Blast. We have two variants. Intraf if agu bundepe gushubebe. No. Keep adding an extra blue when I do that. Okay. Intraf if agu bundepe gushubebe. I summon a blast from the dream. And then, or Insrafif agu bunda e gushubonga e. Yeah. Insrafif agu bunda e gushubonga. I summon blasts from the dream. Okay. So that's the end of that, and I have to go pick up a baby. So we have all the cantrips done. I will publish this somewhere so that people can use them. Probably at some point I will just publicly, for free, give out all of the cantrips and all of the first level spells with a pronunciation guide so people can start using those. I will continue on my own off stream doing the rest of them. But yeah, but next week we're going to be working on the writing system. We got some time to work on the writing system, get that all done. And then after that, after the writing system is wrapped, then we will move on to the next language, which is probably going to be Sylvan, the language of the Fae. And I'm excited. I already have ideas about that. I'm excited to get to that. But we got to get Ndakaga all wrapped up. And I will continue. I will do all the spells in the SRD. That will be available at some point in a book or something that I produce. We'll have to see how I can do that. I probably will do some updates on Patreon about what I'm doing. But I need to go. There's a thunderstorm, and I have to go to a daycare. But thank you all for watching, and happy conlanging. Okay.